Oh, hey out there. Welcome to our first actual episode of ChatGPT, not just a teaser. The whole video itself is about 18 minutes long, and we will post it on YouTube for you guys to watch when it's done. But for now, we've chopped them up into about 4 to 5 minute pieces so that you can just watch them in bite-sized chunks rather than seeing us blibber blabber for that long about it. In this episode, we're just basically doing a quick intro on what ChatGPT is all about, why it's different than AI, and we talk about Star Trek a little bit. So enjoy. I know I saw one thing that was kind of interesting to me is Ryan Reynolds had done a video for Mint Mobile where it basically asked the chatbot, asked it to write a commercial for him.
Okay.
And so it wrote the whole script, and then he was like, it's got to be funnier.
Yeah.
And it made it funnier. And by the end of it, it was an actual ad that he could have written. And you know Ryan Reynolds, he's kind of a shit. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting. But the other thing that's interesting is you talked about asking it code questions. And when I went onto the website, that's literally what the sample was.
Yeah.
It gave it a snippet of code and said, why isn't this working?
Yeah.
So it's like programmers designed this thing to help them do more complicated programming?
Well, it's by nature, it's a chat bot. So its whole purpose is just to chat. And its model is pretty multi-purpose, right? Like it just takes the data and tries to make sense of it the best it can and spits out what you're looking for. But yeah, I mean, on the technical side of things, it's pretty strong, but obviously it kind of has that weird, quirky, creative edge to it as well. That can come out more with a little bit of encouragement, as with your Ryan Reynolds version. Mm-hmm. So even with the job posting I did on LinkedIn, I said, Kate, make a job posting, and it was very bland and rigid.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to like instruct it or guide it. I just said, too formal, make it shorter and more personal. And it did it, and I still wasn't happy, so it's shorter, funnier, and it did it again. So even with these like very small cues, it kind of knows the path to go along. It's on its own. So I think one of the things that differentiates it from a lot of the tools that we have now is its linguistic processing ability is very natural. Like you can talk to it like a person. It may be a little robotic when it talks back to you, but there's no learning curve to engage with it. You can just talk to it however you want, and it'll figure out your typos and bad grammar and work around it.
So we're inching closer to the amazing Star Trek model of talking to the computer and it answers back with everything that you want to know.
I think so.
That's what we're all working towards, right?
It'll go a lot.
Starship Enterprise.
It'll go a lot further than that. We're scratching the surface still right now. That's the thing, and a lot of people are poking holes at it for its imperfections.
But that's part of the process, right? It's like you got to improve it.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
And it blows me away that people are like, oh, like there's a lot of insecurity around it. Like a lot of people are defending their jobs, and it's like, oh, see this prototype, it can't replace me, it never will. It's like, that is the stupidest thing that you could say. Like, give it 5 years.
Everybody's replaceable.
Everyone's replaceable, and the best thing you could probably do if you're intimidated by this technology is learn about it, understand it, and see how it can augment your professional abilities.
Yeah.
And use it to your benefit as opposed to letting it replace you.
So one of the things that scares me about it is because, I started my career as a writer, and it's like, okay, well, that used to be something that was somewhat unique and rather than the machine, and now we've got this machine that's like, well, I can tell a story too.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little bit intimidating when you first wrote that LinkedIn post on I can't remember what it was, Shop Local?
That's right.
The one that we did.
Yes.
And I read it and I was like, well, shit, like what do I do now? I don't have to write anything. I can just let this generate the content. But then I read it and I was like, well, it's not very good still.
Right.
But I could use some of what it had given me so that I could reformat it into what it is that I wanted to say. So that's still a cost saving or a time savings for me.
Big
because
time.
I'm starting with a non-blank page, and that inches forward for writers for sure.
Right. And for me, like I don't enjoy writing. Right, so to like write out like a 1-page whatever bores me to death, and I'd rather chew off my own arm than do it. But for me, just to give this thing some parameters, and it gives me something that's even 80% of the way there that I can refine myself, I'm totally cool with that.
right, so that's a wrap on episode 1. Thank you so much for watching. We hope that was interesting for you. Leave us some comments. Tell us what you think if you have any questions or comments. We'd love to hear about it, except for our filming ability and our video editing ability, because it's not really what we do here. Next time, we're going to dig into the greatest office battle that has waged over the last 15 years, Google versus Microsoft. Very interesting. We hope you can stay tuned. We'll be releasing the next video on Thursday on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and we'll stick it up on YouTube too. So we'll see you then.